Hi everyone, my name is Chantel and welcome back to my channel. Today is another Smart Art unboxing day. However, it's gonna be a special one because I have the October and November box here. Yes, two boxes, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a mashup. Smart Art was kind enough to send these boxes to me to review for you guys, and in the description box below there is a discount voucher for 10% off your first box. So let's have a look what is in these boxes. So this one is the November one. It's very heavy. This one is the October one. So let's start with the October one. As always, the orange tissue paper. We have the pamphlet or booklet with Smart Art history, the tools, so that's basically the cheat sheet, a project quick start guide, and the prompts, which is mythical, tentacles, sprint, and sticky for the month of October. Let's have a look. So first up, we have Derwent Academy assorted markers. There's 4 in there. I think it says with the little image what it is. Let's have a look. That's a normal fine liner. A plastic nib. A chisel nib. And a bullet nib. Then second is this mechanical pencil in, I think, 0.5. We have Illustrator markers by Spectrum Noir. We have had Illustrator markers before by Smart Art Box. I haven't seen these colors yet though, so that would be a nice addition to the colors I've got. And these are the colors that are in there. Bruinzeel or Bruinzeel. I'm from Holland, so I know how to pronounce it. Bruinzeel pencils, 12 soft grip color pencils. They look a little bit dirty, but there is a soft grip. Yes, it's like a matte soft grip to these pencils. They look like normal color pencils to me, but we'll give them a bash. And the Lollipop. 3 8x10 illustration boards by Crescent Creative Products. And last but not least, we have the Smart Art sticker. Let's pack this one away and open the November box. This is a heavy box. Let's have a look. I love that design. It looks like wood. But we're gonna go sculpting apparently. Looking at this sculpting tool set. So this is the project tools, the cheat sheet. So we're not gonna look at that yet. Quick start guide. And the skills challenge guide. And the prompts are fall leaves, rain boots, fox, and scarecrow. I am more inspired by the other prompt list, so we're probably gonna do something like that. Oh, the sticker. I don't think that really fits with this box if you think about sculpting, but there we go. It's pretty. We have 6-inch wooden sculpting tools. So this is the different set that got replaced. Wipe away tool set. I've never heard of that before. But it looks like silicone rubber tools. Brushes, we'll see how far they go because I don't have high hopes. 4 wooden boards. Mini ribbon tools, 6 tools. That's nice. I don't have them yet, so that's nice to have in my selection of tools. Twizzlers, strawberry flavor. Ooh, this is why this box is so heavy. Sculpey air dry clay. I'm glad they went with Sculpey and not with Crayola. And last but not least, the oh, it's open. Royal Langnickel 12 acrylic artist colors. So I assume they are just artist, I don't know, acrylic paints. Yep. A nice selection of colors. So let's see what we've got. Just wow, I am a little bit overwhelmed by all this stuff. This is a lot of art supplies in just 2 boxes. Based on this, I would subscribe to this box because this is seriously a lot. So let's think this over and think this through, and I'll come back to you when I have a plan on what I want to do with this all. And of course we start with the swatches. I did like these markers on their own, however they do not work together with the markers. They bleed into, well, if you go over it with a marker, it will smudge. Then we have the markers. I am simply not a marker artist. I have never drawn with a Copic in my life, and the nibs of these markers were very, very soft. So soft that if you push too hard on the paper, the very tip of the marker bends up, which is weird. The pencils were just pencils, not anything super special, but they were not bad. And then we have the acrylic paints, and they are reasonable craft paints. I would not make a finished acrylic painting with it, but it is not bad. And you will see as well in my final clay project that they actually lay down really, really well. Okay, so because I wanted to try out absolutely everything that came in this box, I cut one of the illustration boards in half and made an illustration of a door. What I had in mind is to draw what I would later create into clay, and this is still kind of the same thing that I've created in clay as well. However, it is not Santa's Workshop anymore because I liked it so much in the end, the clay piece, that I didn't want to well, not ruin it, but I didn't want to have that Santa sign on the diorama, because it is basically a little diorama what I created, and I didn't want that Santa sign on there because maybe I want to display it all year round, and yeah, not just at Christmas time. The diorama is also a little bit different from the drawing as well, because you can see the mailbox and you can see the letters to Santa and the candy canes, and I was thinking of doing snow in the diorama as well, but I did not go with that, and you will see that a little bit later because I'm not gonna spoil it. The purple is still the purple door in the final diorama as well, and I have to say this illustration board is really, really nice. Just curious, why would you pick illustration board over paper? I would just craft with it, as you will see me do later as well. Just finishing up the illustration here. There's not much to it. It's just a little Santa Workshop door and a wall and a path. But let's get into the interesting stuff, which is using the clay. So let's get into the sculpting part of this video. The first thing I did was sticking these squares onto the Illustrator board to put them together. I'm using Fabri-Tac glue to adhere the squares to the Illustrator board, and then to put the base on the L-shaped diorama piece, I use Gorilla Super Glue. I still want to keep that door element in there, so I'm making a door out of the illustration board, and then from the illustration board as well, I'm adding the details to the door. And this is what the door looks like when I've added all the panels to the front. Moving on to the clay, I actually really liked this air dry clay. It was not hard to work with. It held the details pretty good, especially when it's just slightly starting to dry. You can add details very easily. And also afterwards you can sand it if you like, with all air dry clay really. It was pretty smooth, not gritty at all, and I also found that it didn't really leave a residue, like, you know, with when you use air dry clay, that it leaves a dry residue on your hands, and then in between working with the clay you have to wash your hands to get rid of the residue so it doesn't leave these little speckles on your clay. I didn't really find that happened with this clay. The first thing I did was covering the entire surface with the clay, and then just taking off the excess as I go from the sides. And I'm on the right hand side, you can see I've got a cloth. This is slightly damp, and this is where I keep my clay under, so whilst I'm working with it, it stays the right consistency and it doesn't dry out. I am using my own rolling pin here that I normally use for my polymer clay, but it works fine for this clay as well. I've cut out the door shape from the clay, and then I'm adding the details of the door frame around the edge of the cutout area, and you can see me trying to fit the door in as I go. And then at the top of it I will add an extra door element or doorway element as well, and then I'm going to move on to the bricks of the wall. All these tools were pretty easy to work with. For the diorama I did not really use a ribbon tool. However, I have been working on a little paint, like watercolor paint palette made out of air dry clay, which I then will spray with a sealant. However, I will upload that on my second channel, so if you would like to check that out, I will leave a link in the iCard section and down below in the description box as well. So the wooden tools are pretty good. The clay doesn't really stick to it, not really, unless you make the clay really, really wet. But I hardly wetted the clay throughout the process. And then here you can see me rolling out some clay to make tentacles that will appear from behind the door. And this is one of the prompts from the, I think it was the October box. Yes. And then I thought I was gonna do a little tentacle part inside of it, but I will add the detail later in the painting process. Also, you have quite a bit of time to work with the clay. It's not that it dries out within 10 minutes or anything like that. And I live in a dry climate in Perth in Australia. So yeah, that was pretty good. And I've read some comments that the clay doesn't really stick to the wooden boards, but I actually didn't have a problem with it. I did not use any glue afterwards to make it stick, so it worked out all right. And if you're ever wondering how to store your clay, this is how I store mine. I wrap the clay inside its own package. Around that I put a piece of paper towel and put that in a plastic baggie. This is just a simple Ziploc bag that you can use for lunches and all that kind of stuff. You can also use a container. I then spray it with water and seal the bag. For me, this works fine, and even after 4 or 5 months, the clay that I have stored is still usable. Now moving on to the paints. These paints were perfectly fine as a craft paint, and they layered pretty well, and they went down pretty well, and they dried up semi-matte. And I wasn't mad about using these paints at all. I use it for the door as well. As I said, I'm painting this entire piece black, and then I'm adding the details with dry brushing. Now, to add some more texture to the floor and to let you see how you can use different kinds of materials also with clay pieces, I'm adding the paint diluted with water to this tissue paper directly onto the clay surface. The clay is dry, obviously. And if you want to add more texture to the bricks or to the flooring, like you see me do here, just keep adding those layers of tissue paper, which will add a nice texture that you will see when you're dry brushing the surface. I'm keeping the color of the door purple as I did in the image that I drew as well. Now on to the fun part and bringing all those details out with dry brushing. I'm going over with a light gray and then with the white over the bricks, just because I want to keep the bricks gray, because I'm going to add moss in the end as well. And then dry brushing some brown paint onto the wood elements on the side, and also continuing that on the bricks to age it up a little bit. Of course, the tentacles have to be green. My favorite color is green, as most of you will know. And onto the door as well, of course, because there's just that one tentacle there. Then I'm stippling and dry brushing on some green onto the bricks just to give that illusion of moss. I'm doing that with different shades so you can kind of have that extra dimensional element in there. And then dry brushing some pink onto the purple door to bring out those details in the door. Of course, I can't forget the floor, so I'm dry brushing some brown paint onto the floor and also add that moss element in there as well. Then moving back to the tentacles, I'm adding some pink dots with the end of my paintbrush and adding the door. Now I've created some little pumpkins as well that I will add to the diorama, and let's have a look what the final result looks like. And this is it for the Smart Art October and November box mashup. I really had fun playing with these supplies and mostly, of course, building the diorama and using the clay. Thanks again to Smart Art for their support, and there is a code for you in the description box below for 10% off your first box. If you would like to support me, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon. You can find the link in the end card of this video or in the description box below. And if you're new here, welcome! Please don't forget you can click the subscribe button to become part of the Raven family. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!